is a big societal thing. Okay, otherwise it is there in 1 in 8 couples. That is 15% of all married couples will have infertility. It's expected to have. It has been there forever. Now we hear more about it because people are willing to talk about it. 20 years ago, when we had the clinic, we wouldn't have a male coming in and saying, even if we prescribe, he is not willing to give us a sample for analysis. Now they are more open to giving it. 50 வருஷம் முன்னாடி இப்படி தான் இருந்திருக்கும். But only thing is the guy would have got second marriage and gone off. You wouldn't even know that there was a problem like this. But now the society is changing, coming forward. And we have a lot of clinic as such. We have about 45 to 50 properly equipped IVF centers in our city alone. We have more than about 2,000 plus in our country, which is a huger number than most of the countries put together. So we have a lot of things, and we are diagnosing more and more, the diagnosis is improved as such because of the modalities. Basically, we have genetic, we have beautiful ultrasounds now, so hormones, everything has improved our technology, in terms of diagnosis. What we used to say, we used to say 50% male, 50% female. Then it became 40% male, 40% female, 20% unexplained. What we are encroaching upon is that 20% of unexplained. We are more and more and more taking into it and saying, okay, this could be a problem, that could be a problem. We are getting, but the technology of treatment is also improving. Munadi, when we started maybe in 80s, 10 to 15% was the success rate. Then became 20-25% with the advent of some other technologies. Then after ICSI, we could treat every male problem that they had. Any male infertility we were able to treat. So after ICSI and in the late 1990s, we had the sequential media coming up. The couple of rates became 30%. Now it's close to, with a lot of efforts on air handling units and everything, our success rate is anywhere between 40% in good prognosis patients to 50%. So, and in third party reproduction, it's even more, 50 to 60%. So I think we are improving a lot in this, and people are getting more aware about this problem. Munadi 10 வருஷங்களுக்கு they'll come for the first time to a doctor saying, I've been married for 10 years. But now they come right after 6 months to 1 year. That's good in one way, not great when they come in a month after their marriage and said, look, I've been married for 1 month, I'm not pregnant. That's a flip side of it. So it works both ways.
So do you think the genetics play a role in it, or is it what does the genetics has to do with infertility?
How much does genetics vary on infertility?
As of now, we don't do much of genetic testing in terms of infertility, unless otherwise, whenever there is a male who's got less than 5 million sperm count, then it is definitely indicated that we do a chromosomal analysis. Okay, it is a must, because at least 25% of them can have some sort of anomaly or stuff, chromosomal anomaly. Some maybe a normal variation which is normal otherwise, but can have implications in reproductive area. So we do get a chromosome done. But apart from that, if somebody has got a 0 count, we do the Y chromosome microdeletion, which will tell me if I have the probability of extracting sperms from that man's testes or not. So that is one way. In terms of secondary infertility, which is a term which we say when you've been able to get pregnant before, but you're not able to carry through the pregnancy and have a baby. In that situation, both the couple, both the partners definitely need a chromosomal analysis. Having said that, because it's more common, you'll have major translocations then. But having said that, this is the max which we do in terms of analysis. The only other thing that has come around is the DNA fragmentation in male, that is in the sperms. That's the only thing. Otherwise, it's not an absolute contraindication or absolute necessity for infertility, but it is something it's a new kid on the block that we are analyzing and all that stuff. Having said that, I think genetics does play a major role, because you would see that, we have seen as such that somebody who probably, let us say 35 years, they would have tried 3 cycles of IVF or even 4 or 5 cycles. They will have really good looking embryos, but they will fail to implant. After so many times, they will say, madam, I would like to go for a third party. So they might take donor egg. The donor egg, the embryos from that will look shabby, but they still go ahead and implant, which is making us all believe that there is something which is on a molecular level which makes somebody more fertile than other person. It is not just how eggs look or how sperms look or how the embryos look. On a really molecular level, there is something which makes these embryos more implantable in the same uterus, which the uterus which has rejected at least 5 times the embryos of the same woman, her egg and the husband's sperm. So there is something on a molecular level. Apart from that, after we make the embryos, of course you're all aware of PGS and PGD. So that is coming in a big way, because we had PGS maybe in the early 2000 and stuff, when we were advising that please let women of advanced maternal age go through PGS. But it was discarded because it didn't give us any bit more any more pregnancy rates. Because at that point of time we were doing it by fish. So maximum I can test for 7 chromosomes at that point of time. Now we are using NGS, which means the entire 23 is done for me and given to me and said, look, it's fine. So now PGS is coming out in a big way, and we are able to look more. Probably the time is not probably big when we'll be doing the autosomal sequencing on every embryo as well. When it's possible in adults, it could be possible in embryos in a later date. PGD, of course, has come here to stay in terms when the couple have got a problem in the family, and it's a boon for those couples. It's absolutely amazing. These are the genetic things we use, but I think on a molecular level, definitely genetics has a play in causing infertility, and that is why I think even the poor looking embryos from a woman who's already gotten pregnant, has 2 babies also, who we take as a donor, her embryos are able to implant in the uterus, which even the good looking embryos from the same woman previously has not implanted. So, but I don't know what, nobody has done studies on it, but that's our gut feeling as such. I think it will be true. Everything will be explained by genetics at some point of time.
Can you tell us about the diagnosis methodologies that you go through? What
for infertility?
Yeah.
Infertility, we need to look at 3 things majorly. One is the egg, the other is the sperm, the other is the uterus. And the 4th one, which also we have to look at, is the fallopian tube. These are the 4 common things, or the most important things we have to look at. To see the egg, or let's finish the simple thing. Let's see the sperms. We do the semen analysis. Okay. Semen analysis will give me, it is one major test for the male to tell me if he's got a sperm, if he's able to give out a semen sample at will. 3, if there are sperms in it. If there are sperms in it, how much of it is motile. So all 4 is given to me in one short answer. The moment we get a semen sample, not only we do the semen analysis for concentration and motility, we also fix it to look at the morphology. So how many sperms are normal looking? Okay. Now the criteria, WHO 2010 criteria says that we need to have at least 4% normal sperms by the strict Kruger's criteria. So we need a minimum of 4. There are lots of men who have less than 4 as well. But so these things we do for the male. For the female, we do 1 cycle of egg production, that is follicular monitoring, to see if the person is producing a follicle. The follicle is the house of the egg. So inside the follicle, microscopically is the egg. So we will not be able to see that by scan, but we will be able to see the follicle on the scan. That is the test for egg production. For the fallopian tubes, we do what is called the HSG, hysterosalpingogram, or sonosalpingogram also can be done. In HSG, what we do is we inject a dye right through the cervix, that is the mouth of the uterus, into the uterus, which is, if the tubes are open, it is expected to spill inside the abdomen. That dye is radio opaque. So we take an X-ray. So if the dye spills inside the abdomen, we will see it on the X-ray. Suppose it is not there, it doesn't spill, then we say that the tube is blocked. Having said that, the gold standard for tube testing is only laparoscopy, because sometimes vascular spill can also look like, vascular spill meaning the dye enters into the bloodstream. It can also look like open tubes. So false positives and false negatives is common in HSG to the tune of even 20-25%. It's a huge margin. But the gold standard is only laparoscopy. So, and the uterus is something which is an enigma. Okay, sometimes even a 4 centimeter uterus can hold a pregnancy. Sometimes even the best of uterus which looks on scan will not be able to hold a pregnancy. What we look at is there's a uterus, presence of a uterus. Number 2 is the endometrium good enough? That is, we will not be able to see the functionality of the endometrium, but we will be able to see the thickness. The thickness, if it goes to a certain limit, we are happy. Vascularity. These are things we see in terms of uterus. When all this is fine, we say, please go ahead and try naturally. We'll try even for 6 months. Just try. Keep trying. There are lots of very specific modalities. Like in sperm, you can do sperm DNA fragmentation. You can do Haas test and everything. But there's a lot of specific tests which are done only in certain situations. We don't do it for everyone. And hormone analysis has become a major part because we know that thyroid, prolactin will affect pregnancy, and hence we do that. But when the sperm is less, then we go ahead and definitely do a hormone analysis, because some of the conditions, when the hormone is of a certain pattern, then the condition can be treatable and we might be able to improve the semen count, and there's the sperm count. So we check the hormones. For the female, hormones is always there. It becomes part of the diagnostic battery of a infertile couple.
Ma'am, and regarding infertility, taking a rough count, is it like it is more in males or in the females, ma'am? And also, does the habits or the environment have an effect on the fertility? If yes, how does it have?
See, we are not able to be sure as of now if the prevalence of infertility is more because of female factors or more male factors. It's a combination. See, it is this, that science believes that if there is hyperfertile sperm, it will be able to compensate for a subfertile egg, and the vice versa. Okay. We now put it as 40-40-20. 40 being female, 40 being male, 20 being unexplained. Okay. In terms of environment, it plays a huge role.
You mean the lifestyle?
Lifestyle, environment, everything put together. See, I tell you something very simple, like think about this. This has not been proved. Theory is coming into picture. It might be proved. For example, all our fertilizers are hormone disrupting factors. They are hormone disrupting. The same with the non-vegetarians. All your chicken, all the meat you eat, they are not the natural meat. They are the estrogen pumped animals' meat, right? So, because estrogen will pump up muscles, and that's why. When you eat a lot of estrogens, what happens in females or males? Obviously, you will have some changes in your hormones. So that will affect on your reproductive system. Obviously, the same in the females. You cannot have estrogen, unwanted estrogen at unwanted times. You should have only at the time when it's supposed to be there. You cannot have estrogen in the luteal phase and say I need pregnancy. It's not going to happen. Like that. So, and it is not just in the food. So by the food, it goes in the water, which means in your soap, to your shampoos, to everything has got endocrine disrupting factors now. So we are all in a situation where we are surrounded by this and we can't do anything about it, and we are forced to eat only that. That is number one. Number two, and our lifestyle has become so sedentary. Like, I sit here and work till morning to evening. What sort of life is that? If I have to go to the next shop, if it's like, even if it's a Shaker and Puri, which is about 500 meters from me, I take my car and go. And that's such a bad lifestyle, isn't it? Previously, my grandfather would eat so much amount of rice, but he would walk about 8-10 miles a day. Now 8-10 miles looks like, oh my god, like I'm participating in Olympics. And so that is a major thing. We are all constrained for time now. Like, we are more concentrating on a career and time on that we are losing out on our health. We don't do even 1 hour of exercise. A lot of the patients don't do even 1 hour of exercise. I have to literally convince them to make them do even half an hour to 1 hour exercise regularly. They give me all sorts of reasons, but then I'll have to tell them, look, boss, it's not my headache. It's not for me that you're going to do it. It's for your own self. There are diabetics who will come and tell me that, man, I don't have time at all. I'm like, how long you work? 14 hours. The rest of the hours, 10 hours, 8 hours you sleep. The rest 2 hours, I'm sure you should be able to spend half an hour for yourself. It's just a mindset which we don't inculcate from our children. I think it started with my generation, that we started getting luxury. Like you go in the car everywhere and come back in car and like that. So, and then came the two-wheelers, the menace of two-wheelers. So even if you have to go to the next house, you take your two-wheeler and go. So andamari aayirthukku. So we don't have that habit of walking. It's not in our system at all. So I think that's where we really need to pick up where we have left off from before and start doing it again. Like within a kilometer, we should be able to walk. It's so simple, which we don't. Just take our two-wheeler and go. It's a bad habit. Lifestyle diseases are contributing so much to infertility now. In terms of females, it's a PCO. We call PCO, you have heard enough about PCO. Everybody knows about PCO. But PCO has got a very strict diagnosis criteria, which we loosely call everybody a PCO. But PCO is basically a metabolic disease, especially the obese PCO. There are 2 types of PCO, the obese and the thin PCO. The obese PCO are basically because of the lifestyle problems. They lose 5% of their weight, they come back to normal routine, which I think is a big boon for them, isn't it? The thin PCO don't have that advantage. They have to go through a lot of tests and medications for that. But the obese PCO, they have to lose 5 to 10% of their weight. Their hormone is back on track. That is major. In terms, and for both our males and females, what would you think would be the age range of people coming here? 25 to 35, majority is that. In them, I diagnose, in at least 30 to 40% of them, I diagnose as diabetic here in such early age. What is diabetes? It's a lifestyle disease because you've been eating too much, which you have used your insulin too much, and hence you are diabetic already. And you haven't used your receptors, the muscle receptor, tertiary receptors to use the glucose, and hence you are diabetic. So it's a lifestyle disease. So we have to change somewhere. We have to break that cycle to bring our life on track now.
Like how do you counsel your patients? Like, how do you handle your patients when it comes to infertility? Are the people convinced, or you have a very tough time in dealing with it?
I think my approach to my patients is very transparent. It's extremely transparent. Every consultation, they sit with me here, even after it's a small follicular monitoring scan, I make sure that they sit with me, and whatever, every time I will tell them, this is it, and this is the consequence. So they know most of even some of my patients, they know so much because they've intently listened to what I'm saying. They can actually handle some other patient who is really not very, confident of what's going on. I tell them, can you please talk to that patient? They'll be happy to, and they actually explain much better. I think sometimes you need a more colloquial way of explaining than I explain. They are able to do it, but as I said, I am very transparent. Every day I would love to spend time with my patients talking to what their problem is. My patients exactly know where they stand. There is, because of my openness, I guess, I have never faced a problem. Yes, maybe 1 in 300 patients I would face a problem in convincing them, but rest, maybe 99%, I don't have a problem in telling them what their problem is, in making them accept what their problem is. See, only when you accept the problem, you will find a solution. You just say, nothing is wrong with me, you will never find a solution. So they accept their problem, come for treatment, they stick to me, Even I have lots of patients coming back for the second baby as well with me through IVF again, and I think that's a major. I feel confident. I feel more happy when my patients choose me again to come back for their big procedure, which even then I'll tell them we have only 30% chance. So still they're like, no ma'am, it happened before, so I'll be happy to do it again. So they know the consequence, they know the pros and cons, and they still come back. It's that I think is the rapport you build from first day. Sometimes I even scold the patient. I tell them, look, what you're doing is wrong. I'm not ever rude, but sometimes you have to put your foot down and say, do this. I want you to do this. And at that point of time, they might feel bad, but they realize that what I'm saying is only for their benefit, not mine. So I enjoy my relationship with the patients.
And I have this kind of doubt, can we take stem cells from the patients and convert into a germ cell so that we can get the gametes in future?
Yes, there has been one experiment in which they have been able to produce mouse sperms in a testis in a culture dish, but that's about it. It is possible. We are working in that way actually. We are not able to do an egg. The oocyte is a much more complexer structure, but a sperm, yes. We might be able to do a sperm in maybe 5 years, we would have sperms doing. But then egg seems very difficult because we don't even know the composition of an egg as of now. It's very difficult. As such, what my guide in Monash used to say that probably the most totipotent cells you have is an egg. Because anything you put into it, it will still be able to activate and give you an embryo. No other cell can do that. So the day we started doing IVF, that is in vitro maturation, we knew how much we lack knowledge about oocyte. In IVF, we mature the oocyte inside the body of the woman and take only M2, that is a mature oocyte. What we tried doing was, we started trying to do IVM, that is in vitro maturation, that is take a GV, that is general vesicle, that is immature egg, try to mature it in our dish and then do IVF. Success rates are very poor. And then when I was there was an analysis of these eggs. My patient did the protein analysis on IVM eggs and in vivo matured eggs. It was such a drastic thing. You had such a length of proteins coming out of the in vivo matured egg and only this much out of the in vitro matured egg. So there was something we were seriously missing about it. So egg seems a long thing, but sperms, yes, it is already being attempted with success. It might be there soon. So all the males with their skin cell, you might be able to have a sperm, which we might be able to use for ICSI. It's great, no? I mean, I cherish all that stuff. I think I'm always in for technology that whatever my patients can have in terms of every patient wants to have their own child. That's primary for them. And because they are not able to have a sperm or an egg, we are forced to go for donor or a third party reproduction.
It is from their side of stem cells, so we can,
Yes.
something of their own.
Yes, that's right. When this comes around, we can at least assure that all males will have at least one option that you can use your sperms, your cells to generate whatever, a haploid sperm of yourself and then do it. Isn't it? But yeah, easier than that would be cloning, isn't it? Reproductive cloning. And it's not allowed. I mean, if somebody does not have sperms, all I have to do is take one skin cell, reduce it, and then use it as a sperm. Or not as a sperm, as a donor of genetic material of that man. Isn't it? But it's not allowed, no, right now. Sorry?
Most proper things that can help human beings are not.
That is because we are not yet very great in reducing the making a diploid cell into a haploid. You know, that is a technique which we are not perfected as yet. If that comes around, we will be able to use this. As of now, reproductive cloning, what we are doing is, we are taking an egg, we are at a GV, we are taking out the it's not The haplodization we are talking about. Haplodization has been attempted. It will come soon.
So by the way you said, you won't get a proper son from both the parents, son or daughter from the parents.
We will have a clone of the person who
Yes.
has donated the genetic material. Dolly. We will have human dollies.
Ma'am, and knowing that patients are willing to accept this much, at what stage is our government helping us, ma'am? How much insight have they put on such issues?
I don't think in our country we have any governmental support in terms of infertility. We are majorly into population control.
Because that is very important. Only when the government enforces something or they impact it from the top,
Yes,
maybe
we
people
are
like
not
you will be able to help it out.
Like, you know, we are into population control. What they are trying to do now is they are trying to bring in some guidelines and laws to put this treatment into order. That is what they are attempting to do. But that is becoming a very draconian law. If it comes around, lots of people, like, I wouldn't prefer to do third party reproduction at all after that, because the moment they see some mistake, they want to fine me 10 lakh and 15 lakh and put me into jail immediately. So in our country, after murder and rapist, doctors will be the third kind who can be straight put into jail without question asked. So I probably might, and who is the loser? It's finally the patient. Can they travel to Singapore to get it done, or to Thailand? So when you put some laws, it should not affect the patients. It should be amicable to everyone. And so, but there is a law coming in to regulate the clinics, but there is no incentive, or there is nothing to help the patients in this. There are not even many medical colleges, government medical colleges, which offer this to the patients.
And talking about newer technologies, implementing them by government is like, what is the probability? Like,
Nothing. They don't even have the basic IVF with them. How will they implement newer technologies? Isn't it? I with the interest of one HOD in KMC OG, we set up an IUI lab in OG in KMC. I think that was a big feat. Even the health secretary came for the inauguration. You know, it's a big thing for them. But you do have IVF in AIMS. You do have it in, I think, PGA Chandigarh and very few colleges. See, it's pittance for the government to start an IVF center. Yeah? It's 1 crore project. It's pittance for them. You know, I don't know why. But the thing is, a continuation of this is very important. I cannot not have something at any point of time. Isn't it? That's a major problem for them. I need my media like this. I need to put everything like this. Otherwise, there will be no results at all. It is not like tissue culture where I can say, okay, this doesn't so, we'll do it again. I need to give results to my patients. No? So that's a major thing there. But it's pittance for them to do this. They are doing transplants. They can as well do this. You know?
Yeah.
I even told people I'll come and work for free as an embryologist. Just do something, because I feel we are keeping it as a rich man's forte right now. It should be open to everyone. Let them pay 25,000 as a basic, because anything that's given free, people don't relish or they don't understand the value of it. Ask them to pay 25,000. Let the government pay 60,000 or something. You can definitely get this done. It's going to be done in Chipma. Why not in our state? But anyways, I guess because the policy of the government is probably fertility control, they may not be interested in this. But once it is with the advent of IVF that we opened up to a lot of technology. You know, from culturing techniques to your stem cells to everything opened up as a result of this, or as an allied of this. This, I think, has opened up a lot of things for us which we might not even have thought of, like maybe 30 years ago. So we should take it up. I mean, everywhere the world is going ahead of us in this field at least. Not in the private. The private in India, in clinics, is on par with any clinic in the world. But it is just that our public sector isn't coping up with this notice.
Being a mother and an embryologist and genetic specialist, how do you look at an embryo?
As I said, every embryo is a baby for me. I would not throw away even 8 years old embryo. Even if the patient has written males over males and said, please discard my embryos, please discard my embryos, I just don't have the heart to discard any single good-looking embryo which I think is viable, which can give a baby. Just keep it. I said, look, it's okay. It's only a matter of some thousands of liquid nitrogen for me. Anyway, some other patient, they anyway is paying for it, so we'll just compensate. I just keep it. I'm hoping that at least one day they will get bored of my mails and say, please donate to somebody, because you don't throw away your baby into the dustbin. You give it off to some orphanage so that some other parent will adopt it. I look at these embryos the same way, that let some parent adopt it.
Like are all these embryos viable enough to grow to a child?
They may be. At least 30 to 40% of them are viable.
Viable to become a child.
Yeah. So I don't know which is viable.
Okay.
So we keep everything. Whatever is stored, whatever is frozen, we keep it. I just keep continuing to keep it. It's a weak point. It's my weakest point, I guess. My mother, who is a clinician in the MD, she keeps saying, you're wasting the space. And I think, it's okay, we'll buy another can. Each can will cost you 1.5 to 2 lakhs. To invest in buying a cryo can, it's okay, we will take another one, because I hope someday, out of sheer boredom, they'll say, just donate them. Yeah, please, doctor. Yes, I agree to donate them. At least some parent will be able to adopt those kids. And I think that's great. I'll wait. I'll wait till they can say it. I guess it's important to the effort that has gone to make those embryos. It's huge. It's because somebody has already had the child. They don't find that they said it's okay. But when they don't have it, and that's when they realize the importance of those embryos. There are couples who don't have eggs, neither sperms, and they want to adopt these embryos in the sense that they want to take them. But unless the original couple's consent, I cannot give. So it is these people who know the value of that embryo. I do know. I think I tell every baby which is born here, they come back and say, look, I was the one who first had to look at you as a 1 cell, 2 cell, 4 cell and 8 cell. So I'm the first person who had a look at you, and they keep coming back every year and then after some time they'll say my dialogue, you looked at me when I was 1 cell, and it's a sheer joy. Yes.
How do you consider this more as
if you ask me truly, I wasn't really interested in getting into medicine. But right now, if you ask me, you take up any profession, I would say, nah, thank you, because I don't think I'll be happy or satisfied in any other profession other than this. It's a profession where we have lots of failures. Failures are more than success. 70% of the patients will fail. But I tend to concentrate more on the patients who fail, because they are the people who need more of your support, more of your counseling, more of being with them than people who got pregnant and had the baby. Their job is done. They can go and be happy with anyone. But we keep trying, we keep finding ways. That's why we go to all sorts of this conference, to know if there is anything clinically that I can apply to my patients to give them a better results. I guess this is more a passion now than profession.
How does it feel when you see yourself growing into a child? How does it feel?
It's you just think, oh my god, nature is just great. I see one egg and then one sperm. I inject that sperm into that egg, and then I just forget about it till the next day morning. You see that fertilized. The next day it's like 4 cells, and then 8 cells, and then the 5th day it's like blastocyst. And then with great hope, we put it back into the uterus. And then when it's born as a child, it's like, wow, that's like 1 cell. I saw this thing, Nature is amazing. I don't think we can ever compete or get to know that, but it is amazing. I'm sure you all saw that thing where they had an artificial uterus done. There was some time recent ago in the news, an artificial uterus was made, and the baby it said that you can do it. It's probably the future. Technology has to be adopted. I remember 30 years ago when IVF came around in UK first. It came in UK first. The whole parliament, they put a law against this, and all the parliamentarians were against this and all that stuff. Now the same parliamentarian sons and daughters are undergoing IVF. So technology is there to adapt, keep it as best as possible for everyone, and then go along.